Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we will go further toward the constant data members. But before starting a constant data member, we should revise the constructor and destructor, which we discussed in our last lecture. In the constructor, we observe one problem. For example, if we define these data members in one class and we define some functions also, as you can see that we have coded it for here. And when the object is created, as you can see that we have created that class, and for that class we have defined some data members. And when the object is created, along with the object creation, it allot memory to any particular object. As you can see that memory is allotted to that particular object. But you can also see over here that we are not initializing all the data members. So because these data members are not initialized, they will get any dummy data because memory is there. Memory is reserved for these data members, but we haven't provided any data to that. So any dummy data can be provided to these data members. When the dummy data is provided to any class, any object data members, it may have a very dangerous, very bad consequences. It may lead to a disaster, particularly in the application where a hard real-time response is needed. I gave you example of the interceptor, which is fired to intercept any enemy rocket, etc. So if it get a dummy data, definitely it will not be able to hit the target, and in that case the enemy rocket can hit the population. So this can be a disaster. Or you can say that when for example we write any program to land any aircraft. For that, it depends on number of parameters, number of data members, and if these data members are not properly initialized, definitely we will not be able to land such like aircrafts. And for example, if you have you are writing a program to land any shuttle on the Mars, then definitely you will not be there. You are not able to control that. The program has to work, and if the objects are not properly initialized, they may get a dummy data, and this dummy data may lead towards a disaster. And constructor is not only important for the initialization too, because initial constructor is automatically called when the object is created, so we can use that for number of other purposes too. For example, if when this Airbus is started, it doesn't mean that we are going to start its own engine only. It means that we are going to start its all engine, we are going to start its electrical system, we are going to start its mechanical system, we are going to start its security system, radar, etc. So we can use the constructor as the first object is created. The all related constructor, all the related classes should automatically work. For that they should start working too. So we can also use the constructor there. So now for that reason we use the constructor, and in that program you can see that I have written one program for some of the data members, and for that data members I'm using a constructor. Constructor means that as the object is created, it will automatically call the constructor first, and when the constructor is called, we can use that to initialize all these data members, and that will avoid the dummy data which we observe in our earlier program. So now what the constructor will do, it will initialize the data members, and it will also allocate the memory. Earlier you saw that we were just allocating the memory, we were not initializing the data members, and definitely there were chances that they may get any dummy data. There are some rules for constructor. They have the same name as a class. There is no return type, and particularly this is very you can say interesting property which we use, that is called that the constructor is automatically called when the object is created. Its automation call property facilitate us to use it for different purposes. There can be a two type of constructor: parameterized constructor and default constructor, and we practice the both. In the default constructor, no argument is needed, and parameterized arguments are needed, and particularly if we forget to initialize the data members, then the default parameters is called, default constructor is called, and it allows some values which may save the program for the dummy data initialization. And after that, we look at the destructor. As constructor is responsible for the birth of any object, destructor is responsible for the death, for the destruction of any object. Constructor initializes the data members. It allot memory to the object, and along with that, if we want to call other classes too in the constructor, so the constructor help in that. After the object creation, its life cycle start. It means all the functionalities, all the activities which are related to that, all these functionalities, activities are carried on, and at the end, when the activities are completed, when the life cycle of the object is completed, all the work has been done, there we called a destructor. The purpose of the destructor is that all the resources, all the memory resources, or all the network, any type of resources which were allotted to the object, all these resources should be freed. And if these resources are not freed, the system may be overutilized, and the system or when the software performance may go down. So we need the both constructor and destructor too. So this is the main purpose. Constructor is used to initialize, give birth to the object, and destructor is used to destroy or destroy any object. And particularly with things which are important, when it is called, this is very important, at the start of the object, when object is created, constructor is called, and destructor is called when object is destroyed. So you can use these properties for different type of purposes. You can use or call any other classes, any other object, for where you can connect that when this object is created, these functionalities should be called, or when you can say that when this object is created, the other object should also be created or called, then you can use the destructor. This is a very important property, interesting property, which the programmer can use for different type of activities. So hopefully all that would be clear to you, and now we should go towards the constant, that what is constant and how actually constant works. So look at the same example as last time. We created a student class, and for that student class we included some of the data members, and we also included some of the function. And here you can see I have included some of the data members, for example name, roll number, and particularly university. Now what happened that when the, for example, that is a class, and against that when we start creating the object, then you can see that every object will have all these data members. So now you can see every student will have the same university name, because all these students are studying in the same university, and we are developing an application for that university. In the case of my university, every students have University of Surgoda at a place of university. This is actually a university. So you can say that University of Srikoda US is particularly repeating. And you can see that this is a class, and when the objects were created, all students has the same university, all other information is changing, but the university, you can say this is common for every student. So now let's see a bit further. If we allow the student to enter or change the university, what they can do, they can write the university name according to their knowledge or according to their will. For example, someone write University of Srikoda US, some may write US, some people write Uni of Srikoda, so they can write everything according to their mind. And this the data member value will be changed for every student, and it will not help us if we want to search any student with the university name, etc., etc. You can take another example too. For example, you are dealing with the mathematical problem, and for that mathematical problem you need the value of g. You know that value of g is constant, or you need the value of pi, and you also know that the value of pi is constant for everything. So what you will do, you need that the pi should be constant, there should be one value for that, and you will not allow this value to be changed. Okay, if the pi value is changed or the value of g is changed, definitely it will not perform the calculation as we need it. So what we can do, we actually want that the university data member should have a unique value. This should have a constant value, and that shouldn't be changed. And in the case of any mathematical class, if we need if we defined the pi or g value, then there we also need that the their value should be constant, and this shouldn't be changed. For that, in such cases, we use the keyword constant. When any data member is declared as a constant, then its value can't be changed later on when it is initialized, when it is defined. So let's go toward the programming and check how it works and how we can deal with it. So I'm going to code the same program over here. I will also need a main function because the compiler only read the main function. It don't check the other program, etc. Compiler only look at the main first, after that it look to the other function, and I'm storing it as a constant. Okay, so I need the same class of student on which we were working earlier. So class is a keyword, student is a class name, and this is the class body. And in that class body I need one public data member. Currently I'm going to define all data member as a public, because we are not going to check the access specifier over here. We are just focusing on the constant, that how we can declare any data member constant and how it behave. So I use string name. I also need the roll number because I declared it there, and similarly I also need one uni. Uni shows the university name. So you can see that this is the exact thing about which you are looking. To make the uni constant, what we should do, that we should make it constant, and for that we use the keyword constant, CONST. This will make the uni constant. So currently I'm going to initialize it over here, and later on I will use the constructor or any other function to initialize it when the object is created. So currently I'm initializing it over here, then later on we will check the other. And what can I do over here, that I need a simple void function to display all these values, and for that I can write any cout function, for example cout, and in the cout I am displaying a name, and the variable name for the name is name, and this will display that data. Similarly, I also need to display the roll number, and the variable name for the roll number is roll number. And similarly I will use a handle to go to the new line, and the third one is a cout for the university name, and this is the important thing which we are looking for. We have made this as a constant, uni and handle. Okay, so now the university name is constant as a UOS, and we will not be able in the main or anywhere other in any other classes to change that. So let's go toward the main, and in the main I'm going to create one student object, student, and the object is s1, and along with s1 I call the show function. Okay, you can say this is the show function. Let's check that is it working or not. Yeah, we have forget the show function name. So you can see that the university name is automatically settled there. So what we can do now, I'm going to set the value for name, to assign the value for name. For example, this is ABC. I have set the value of name, and now along with the name I want to set the roll number value too, and the value of the roll number is, for example, BS001, and I also tried to set the value of uni 2, and to the uni I provide some value, for example university. I just provide the SU to check that either it is working or not. So let's initialize that, and you can see that the compiler has highlighted that, and you can see the messages non-static data member initialization initializers only available with that. It means exactly that when the data is declared constant, we would not be able to then change it later on if we want to change it, because in here you can see that the s1 object is trying to change it, but compiler is not allowing to change it, because this is a constant data member, and constant data member will remain constant throughout the program. So currently you can see over here that we are assigning directly the value over here. Now I use a constructor for that this value should be initialized as the object is created, and if we also observe that this is not working and the compiler is not allowing to initialize this value, so I'm writing one constructor over here, and that constructor will work as a constructor initialization list. We also use the constructor as a list initializer to directly initialize the data members before allotting to the memory. So constructor, we can use two types of constructor over here: the simple constructor as a function, as we have already been using that, but in that case first the memory will be allotted, and after that the data members will be initialized. So there is a problem, we will discuss it later on, because when the data members when the memory is created before initializing, there is still chances of the garbage value, though this will be for a few nanoseconds, but that can be utilized, and that this can lead to the disaster. To solve this issue, we use the list initialization, constructor list initialization. This will help us to directly initialize the data members when object is created. So how it works, I'm writing the same constructor. It works just like a constructor. So student, and in that student you can see this is the exactly a constructor as it works. But if we want to use the constructor to directly initialize the data members before allotting the memory to them, exactly the time when the memory is allotted to that, then we use that syntax, that student, and after the student we need the uni, and for uni we want to assign some data to the university. For example, University of Sargodha, this is the data which we want to pass to that, and that's it. So it will work instead of creating the object and storing any domain data initially in that data members, it will directly assign the value to the uni. So as the uni data member is created, it will exactly have this value in that object. So let's see how it works. Now you can see that the University of Sargodha is directly assigned to it. So you can use that constructor initialization list to directly initialize the list. So this is enough for today. We discussed the constant, and you observe that constant is also important for us. We don't want to change their values when the program is used, particularly if we don't want to allow the student to change the university name, then we need to keep the university name constant or fixed. And to keep that fixed, what we can do, that we can use the constant. As you can see that we are using or declaring the uni as a constant, and when it is declared as a constant, it will have a same value with which it is initialized. So you can exactly see over here that every data members, every object will have the same data as it was declared initially. And you also observed in our program that when we tried to change the constant data members from the main, though it was a public, and the public property is that we can access these data members, we can modify these data members from the main and any third class, but you observe that compiler didn't allow, we were not able to change it. Why? Because this was declared as a constant, and when any data member is declared as a constant in the object, at the object level, we can't change that, we can't modify that. So what we do actually, we get the exact copy, exact value which is defined at the class level. So hopefully it is clear to you now, and thank you so much for watching.